We laugh at the expense of tech billionaires such as Mark Zuckerberg, crack jokes, make memes, and say that the metaverse will go nowhere. However, the metaverse is here to stay, and it is far more evil than we could ever imagine. The reality of the matter is that the metaverse, or a version of the metaverse, is the next big step in technological advancement. There will come a day where people work and play all within its compounds. In order to truly understand its cause and effect, we need to ask ourselves two questions. How can we be sure that the metaverse is here to stay, and what does a meta future look like? Primitive versions of the metaverse have been a thing for quite some time, with companies utilizing softwares like Zoom and Gather to make up for a lack of in-person connection during a heavy work-from-home environment. We have also seen tastes of what these worlds are capable of with things like Roblox and Fortnite hosting entire concerts from within their versions of the metaverse. Big tech companies like Meta know that this is the direction technology is evolving, which is why dozens of these companies are cumulatively dumping trillions into their own versions of the metaverse. It truly is simple. Whichever company can curate the first true metaverse gains absolute power, and not just power over a technological world, but trillions of dollars within the real world. We have seen it time and time again. Tech companies announce a product that seems so far-fetched that we mock them. Cell phones, TVs, computers, cars, and even the light bulb were all laughed at, and now they exist in every household as a staple of modern ingenuity. History has shown us that whenever a tech giant announces an idea, it will come to fruition. The biggest challenge that is faced is typically timing. A great example of this is from 1983, where Steve Jobs announced his bold idea of a computer that you could carry around like a book. This computer was planned to use a radio link so it could communicate without being hooked up to anything else. The description of this device sounds very similar to the iPad, and again at the time was a far-fetched and ridiculous concept. Apple had a goal of releasing this product by 1990, and the first iPad did not hit the market until 2010, 2 decades later than planned and almost 3 decades after it had been announced. Although 20 years late, the iPad has sold over 425 million units since its original debut, a commercial success to say the least. When we think of the word metaverse, we need to remember that this is no new concept, and the word was coined all the way back in 1992 by author Neal Stephenson, a timeline that just about fits with our prediction to execution of technology. At this point, we laugh at Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse and mock Meta for hemorrhaging billions of dollars to build it. However, if we take a step back, we can see that the metaverse is the future, and with Facebook losing stock at an alarming rate, and as pressure builds as other companies continue to develop their versions of the metaverse, it is do or die trying. If Zuck fails to build the metaverse, someone else will, and this will crush not just Facebook, but all other social platforms as humanity begins to envelop themselves in a digitally curated world. This is why Zuckerberg continues to unload billions of dollars and laying off thousands of employees to ensure it gets done, as everything is on the line. We can see now that as far-fetched as the idea is, it is quite obvious this is the direction the future is moving towards, but this does lead us to our second question. What does a meta future look like? Social media sites already use engaging tactics involving flashy colors and sounds to keep you engaged. The longer you stay on the platform, the more advertisements they can show you. The more advertisements they can show you, the more money they can pocket. With phone addiction being so prevalent, it is only safe to assume that in a meta world, this addiction would only be amplified as companies could indulge more of your senses to keep you engaged longer than ever before. Phone addiction works by engaging your senses and causing your brain to release dopamine through likes, reactions, and engagement. Once the phone is set down, the brain then struggles to produce this chemical on its own, making the user yearn for more screen time. The metaverse is only an amplified version of this. Users will eventually struggle to face their day-to-day life unless fully immersed in an augmented or VR world. They will spend their days working and playing, but not everything can be accomplished from this world, such as sleeping, travel, and eating. This will lead to users having no choice but to exit the virtual world at various points. The longer the user is away, the more daunting the real world will become, crushing the user with anxiety and depression. The user will only be able to think about their next immersion into this generated world instead of focusing on what's in front of them. Once inside this world, advertisements will be shoved down your throat, and as you spend your time diminishing and neglecting what skills you once had, these tech companies will continue to rake in billions of dollars. Getting richer and more powerful within the real world will forcing the poor to get poorer as they spend their valuable time and hard-earned dollars dollars on virtual stuff that holds no true monetary value. Relationships will crumble and generations rot as less people will feel the need to leave their homes unless absolutely necessary. Those who are not submerged will feel alone as they wander empty streets, being forced to either join the rotting minds of those involved or isolate themselves within the real world. And this sounds dark and terrifying, but that's because it is. People need real-world connection to thrive, and the only beneficiaries in this are those with complete control over these worlds, as the lower and middle class crumble under their watchful eyes. Luckily, there is a silver lining, and this lining comes from the most obvious of contenders to Meta, and this is Apple. Apple is a fairly secretive company when it comes to new technology, but we know that they have been buying out companies and patents related to augmented reality tech for over a decade. From the look of patents like AR/VR crown sensors, two-prong temperature gradient sensing systems, and a smart ring system for mixed reality headsets, it's clear to see that Apple's vision of the metaverse is more directly related to augmented reality instead of virtual reality. The benefits of this are an extended reality that has a better relationship between the real world and the metaverse. This means people could be fully immersed into the meta world, all while still being engaged in their day-to-day life. Apple would seemingly have an easier time getting this technology in the hands of its target audience as well. They have been continually adding more and more sensors into their phone with every release, all while making this technology smaller. With Oculus, they have sold approximately 6.5 million units in 2022, and this is compared to the staggering 2.2 billion iPhone units that were sold in the same year. With having such a large amount of people already owning the base technology and considering Apple's track record, this makes them a top contender for developing a metaverse that could truly be placed in the hands of a majority of the world by simply using the technology they already own. This sort of information buries what we know about the metaverse and truly puts Mark Zuckerberg's plans to shame. Even if Zuckerberg were to get it to take off in popularity this year, Apple's metaverse would simply overshadow it in the years to come. Over 50% of innovators predict that the metaverse will be fully integrated into people's life by 2040, which is not as far away as we would like to believe. Apple's metaverse seems very promising and has far less risk than some of their competitors, and personally I find it quite intriguing. I would be curious to know what your thoughts are on the metaverse, and would you welcome it into your day-to-day life, or do you plan to shrug this technology off for as long as possible? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.